Vitalik? Vitalik, what's happening, Vitalik? Why are you doing this to me? Welcome everyone to the September 9th edition of What's Happening in Crypto with the Crypto Lark, broadcasting to you from New Zealand, bringing you all of the latest from the crypto world and beyond. Today's top stories: fears grow around Ethereum, bullish news from Coinbase, and the censorship on social media only increases. Bitcoin $6,211, down 4% in the last 24 hours. The real story here, though, is Ethereum, which is down 35.5% in the last 7 days, down over 12% in the last 24 hours. As Ethereum crosses under $200, fear grows. There have been a lot of stories going around recently like, is this the end of Ethereum? Is there even a use case for Ethereum? Ethereum won't be able to scale. The death of Ethereum is nigh, and on it goes. Vitalik isn't really helping by coming out and saying that current crypto adoption strategy is nearing a dead end. He says the blockchain space is getting to the point where there is a ceiling in sight. If you talk to the average educated person at this point, they probably have heard of blockchain at least once. There isn't any opportunity for yet another 1,000-time growth in anything in the space anymore. It seems even the founder of Ethereum is turning a bit pessimistic at this point, and yet the future for Ethereum does look bright. But keeping it real, even if we had a massive bull run return and Ethereum became the next internet computer, well, there's not going to be 1,000x growth in Ethereum anytime in the near future, for sure. Now, a lot of other cryptocurrencies, that question is different, and there is an amazing amount of opportunity still floating around down in the low cap area. Projects like Vite or Tomo Chain are screaming buys at the current market caps of only around $10 or $20 million. And the bets against Ethereum's price are hitting an all-time high. People are becoming very pessimistic against Ethereum, actively betting against it, actively betting that it will indeed continue to go down in price. And we have Ethereum Futures looking to be a thing in the near future. If that does happen, well, that just makes it even easier to bet against Ethereum. Ethereum will scale. It's simply a question of when Ethereum is going to scale, and if it can continue to fend off all of the competitors trying to dethrone it from the number 2 space on CoinMarketCap. Weak user counts signal panic sell for most cryptocurrency tokens. Now, this researcher went in and said, well, a lot of cryptocurrencies aren't really being used at this point. And look, if you go and have a look at what they're looking at here, this is the active addresses in the last 24 hours. Of course, Bitcoin well above most, 613,000 active addresses in the last 24 hours. When you start to go down the list a little bit, EOS only around 4,000 active addresses, PivX around 3,000, VeChain around 500. I have a feeling that to an extent at least, this shows that people are holding, that they're not actively moving currencies around in order to sell them at these levels. That is understandable. But one of the things that we do need to see happening in the crypto space is for people to actually be using these cryptocurrencies. And so as the bear drags on, it does continue to weigh heavily on the minds of investors who also want to see these currencies actually become currencies. Although the guys over at Coinbase remain incredibly optimistic. Brian Armstrong saying that 1 billion people will be using cryptocurrency in 5 years. Just think, if that prediction is true, Oh, that's massive. And when you start looking at the charts and you start looking at like the Wall Street capitulation chart, for example, you can really see we are nearing the end of this phase of extreme fear in the market. Now is actually looking more and more like the time to be buying. And I know we've all been saying that for a while as the markets continue to go down and down and down, and dollar cost averaging is a real thing. But if you do have this optimistic view that in 5 years' time, 1 billion people will be using cryptocurrencies, may I remind you, there are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, as well as most of the other currencies, being also quite rare. And if they do get real use cases with dApps that are used by hundreds of thousands or millions of people built on top of them, then we have a very different conversation on our hands. In fact, Coinbase believes in all this so much, they are doubling their staff. They want to become the New York Stock Exchange for cryptocurrencies. The number of Australians holding crypto nearly triples during the market slump, according to a survey. This really just shows that, wow, this is the time to be getting involved for a lot of people. And I find it so funny, the fear in the market, because back in January, December, I saw so many people saying, gosh, if only I could have bought Bitcoin when it was at $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000. Well, here's your chance. It's happening right now. The question is, can you look past the fear to make a rational decision on acquiring these assets if you believe that the future of them is indeed bright? I know for a lot of crypto OGs, they look at it and just think, is it the bottom? Only because they want to be able to hold as many coins as they possibly can. Crypto is a poor form of money for terrorists, that is, a congressional hearing concludes. Well, that's great, Congress. I actually kind of like that, because we hear so often, oh, cryptocurrency, it's only used by terrorists and people selling drugs and all these other bad things. For them to actually come out and say, terrorists have tried using crypto, it didn't really work out very well for them, so it's not really a thing. That's actually a positive development in my mind. Over in China, Chinese crypto traders finding ways to skirt the government crackdown, because of course they are. Of course they are. The harder China tries to squeeze, the more people will try to get cryptocurrencies. It'll become even cooler. It's like they're trying to squeeze water in their hands. Well, it's just not going to work. And it's only a matter of time before China comes back, and it may be a couple years before China comes back. But Chinese traders and Chinese investors have not stopped at all. In fact, the OTC markets over in China are quite heated. The censorship on social media does continue. Now, this is in particular, the first two stories are about Alex Jones. Alex Jones has finally been permanently banned from Twitter, and his app has been removed from the Apple App Store. Now, you can hate Alex Jones, you can disagree with Alex Jones, you can think that he is the worst thing since, I don't know, I was going to say sliced bread, but that doesn't really make sense. But you get the point, guys. If Alex Jones is the bad guy, well, where's the stop? This is the thing, is that they find the most odious person and then say, let's attack their rights. And then it creates a snowball effect. Well, whose rights can we trample on next? Who can we deplatform next? Because if you remove somebody from these platforms in the modern age, you are essentially completely silencing them. The fact that Alex Jones is no longer on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the App Store, it's huge. The power of these tech companies to silence people they disagree with is powerful. This is why we have to have decentralized solutions that companies and governments cannot shut down. Because, by the way, you have to keep it real. All of these tech companies are deeply in bed with the government. Facebook, for example, is regularly meeting with the Atlantic Council, talking about basically who to ban on social media. I'm sure they talk about other nefarious things too, but this is definitely a worrying trend. And I feel like the measure of freedom of speech as an ideal is, are you able to stand up to defend someone's freedom of speech even when you disagree with them vehemently? Something to keep in mind. Now, about net neutrality, all of the fears of net neutrality, well, it seems to be coming true. I know back when we were having the conversation about net neutrality and some of the projects around net neutrality, they're aiming to decentralize and make the internet free. A lot of people were saying, well, it's all BS. These big telecoms are never going to start throttling major companies. And that's exactly what they're doing. Because of course they are. Of course they are. The amount of misinformation by the major telecoms to be really propagandizing against this happening. Well, here we see actually that we do see YouTube is being throttled, Netflix is being throttled, Amazon Prime is being throttled, even NBC Sports is being throttled. Now this is going to be largely a business thing where they throttle them and then make them pay more money later, but these are the big guys. These are who people are paying attention to. If this is happening to them, well, who else is it happening to? Because I guarantee it's happening to a lot of other websites. You just don't hear about it. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. Let me know what you think about any of the news stories down below in the comment section. Thumbs up the video, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all of the latest in crypto space, or check out some of these playlists over here. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.